Welcome to another episode of Uncensored. Today we have the fabulous Muse Naadia. She is an Ethiopian goddess, FemDom extraordinaire, and I've known her for 3 years at this point. Four years at this point.
Yeah, going on 5. Yeah.
And we haven't seen each other for a year.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Wow.
And I want to hear all about like how your last year has been. But before that, for people who don't know you, how would you describe your style of domination in one word?
Oh God, that's a really good question. I've never. Oh my God, I'm actually at a loss of words. I would probably say. I can't stop thinking the word regal. It just makes me think regal.
We'll go with regal.
Yeah.
How did you get into doming?
Oh, I love this question because low-key, the people that I brought with me are part of my before, the past of my FemDom career and the present. But Bethel, she played an episode on Horrible Decisions podcast, Wheezy and Mandy, and we were taking a road trip down to, what was it, Rosarita, Mexico for her birthday. And we were listening to music the whole way, and I was driving because I got to be DJ because I'm driving the whole way. And then she's like, let me just put on an episode of a podcast if you don't mind. I was like, absolutely. And the episode she randomly happened to pick was about financial domination. And I was a financial advisor at the time. And I remember telling her, literally as soon as we pulled up, I was like, give me 2 weeks when we get back. Give me 2 weeks when we get back. I swear to God on God, I'm going to do this. And yeah, I went from financial advising to financial domination.
And how was that process for you, like transitioning to doming, right? Did you like hold your day job at the same time and then the doming after, or did you like quit and go straight into it?
Right. Yeah. It was a intricate balance of both. So I was definitely doing both in the beginning because I didn't get my first tribute until 6 months in.
Really?
Yeah, and it was $35. Okay.
Oh my God, cute.
And I remember I still have that screenshot in my phone to this day, but it was 6 months in and it was $35 and it was on Venmo and I'll never forget it. But I was really, really happy about it. And that's obviously I knew that I could not stop doing my full-time / commission-based career and switch over to this full-time. But the cool thing about what I did is I just waited until I was like, okay, I'll wait till I double my income. I'll wait till I triple it. And then I was like, okay, wait, I'll wait till I 4 times it. And then when I got to about 4.5 times, I was like, okay, I'm effectively now wasting my time doing my vanilla job.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense for me to be dedicating the hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. of critical working hours towards this, even though the late hours are the most prone. And I was doing just fine. At that point, I had been making about I don't know, probably 12, 15 a month. I was like, I think, and I wanted to make it consistently for months. And I think at that point it had been 6, 8 months. And then my partner that I was working with just said something to me that really irritated me after hiring someone that I did not want him to hire. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm out.
What did he say?
He was just, I don't remember. It's crazy. I'm so glad I don't remember. But I remember
the feeling.
Absolutely. I just remember being like, I don't like this anymore. I don't need you anymore. And I was just like, I'm done. I put my 2 weeks in and it wasn't really a real 2 weeks. He just paid me out and I left. It was great.
Yeah. When you started FemDoming, what was the most surprising thing for you when you were starting off?
Probably the ease of money, but also the actual anxiety that comes with not knowing if you're doing it properly. You know?
Say more about that, yeah.
Each individual is different of how they want to be either drained or dominated. And so just not knowing if you're doing it right for that individual, which is such an interesting concept because it's supposed to be about us, right? But I am such a perfectionist. And in a world of math and numbers, it was very easy for me to sit there and okay, sure, you think you know everything, but you actually don't. And this is how the government works. And this is how taxes work. And this is what you're making. And this is where you need to be and how you need to operate. So it's very black and white. And that's what I loved about math and numbers. But in this industry, it's such a spectrum. And I always want to be perfect in triggering that person in every single aspect, that I possibly can, where I am lingering in their mind for eons afterwards, like I do in my real life every day.
Yeah.
We're just talking about that on the way here.
You're master at it too, like
the
the psychological skill it takes for FemDom to be like, this is like, especially in America where it's like so heavily capitalistic, how do you part with money in a way that feels fucking exquisite, and that feels like both humiliating or degrading, or like you're losing power in such a like visceral way.
Because I love the guys who are like, I'm not into FemDom. I'm not in the FemDom, goddess. I don't want you to touch my wallet, but I like this, I like that, I like this. I'm like, okay, so we know at the end of the day what that means, because I love doing correlations of how the guy is feeling to how I feel, and I always use Rihanna as my dom.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the only way I can actually think about it. Because I'm like, I would pay Rihanna for her time to talk to me. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, it's some weird way. Like, if she was like, oh, you're a good girl, I was like, okay, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever. I figure it out with them. But with the guys, there's always a way to integrate money, because at the end of the day, there's a patriarchal system that exists, and there are socioeconomic statuses that exist, and women are always going to be at the lower end, and me as a Black woman at the very, very low end of it. So I just don't care. I don't care. You need to intertwine money into it if it with me, and if you don't, then it needs to be in some other way, shape, or form of feeding back into my life, whether that's through physical acts, you're coming over and doing chores for me, or that's you're coding my website, or you're doing some type of, like, you're doing my DMCA takedowns, right? Yeah. Like, or you're doing my promo page for me, or you're responding to my emails for me, something that takes time out of my calendar that allows me to go and make more money other ways. And that's what I've been able to do recently over the last year, and it's been really nice.
Absolutely. Do you have any FemDom sessions that's like really impactful for you personally that you remember?
Oh, 100%. There's two.
Give me the story.
Yeah, and you know about both of them. My longtime boys, we know about Puppet. Puppet's been with me for a very long time.
Yeah.
But
who is Puppet for those of those listening? Yeah, let's give Puppet a little intro.
Yeah, we're not talking right now.
No.
We'll be going to these little back and forths. We do that.
You guys always like. It's like every time I see you, you're like, I'm not talking to him, or like we're like this.
We talk about, we get into real world shit, and we have differences, and we talk about that kind of stuff. Yep. Like, don't even get me started with our discussion about Palestine. So yeah. Anyways, he knows his place, but yeah, he, like, I would probably say our anniversary, there was a clip where he just like brought over a stack of cash, and I made a clip about it, and it sold online, and it still sells to this day. It's so cute. But it's just really me celebrating, I think it was I don't know what year it was, but that was a couple of years ago. And so that really matters to me, but it was also like the last chunk of cash to pay off my student loans. So I was 100% debt free at that point. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, but also like, you know, and like the freedom that he's allowing my family and I is just beyond, And then we have obviously like rich boy, multi whatever he's just guy is great. He's really sweet and really intelligent, but he is just really someone I enjoy, but also the thing that I respect about him the most is the fact that he just makes it so easy for me. I don't know if that's just his kink. Some part of it is for sure, and I think how I've integrated myself into his life and just mind fucked him completely, like 110%. This man can literally nothing excites him in his life outside of me. Maybe like his grandchildren and all his personal stuff, sure, and his succession, his legacy, but outside of that, I'm it. That person has done like double Puppet, and it blows my mind. It really does. Just the capacity that these individuals have to give and the capacity I have to take and keep going, and miss knowing that, because some people would stop or just be like, oh, okay, this is good. Oh, I know. I'm like, no, this is keep going. You know what I mean? And it's interesting how with Puppet, that's not even his kink at all. At all. And the other individual, it's not even really that, but it's integrated very heavily. It's another form of control, but Puppet, it's not at all. And they're the two biggest giving ones.
Yeah, I find like with subs, like when they truly care about you,
100%.
The desire to provide is there.
100%.
Right? When someone values you,
literally,
they want to support your life in a very practical way. And what's like more practical than the things that you need to get your daily life going, or like the goals you want to reach, which often is financial. What I love about FinDoms is that in sex work, there's this like little game in other parts of the industry where people are playing where it's like, oh, the money's like not the thing, right?
Okay.
Or like the money's like a side of like
Sure.
the conversation. And FinDoming makes it explicit.
100%.
Like this is the air that's needed for us to breathe in the same room. It's, you know, like it's invisible, but with FinDoming it's like it becomes like a hurricane, right? Like this is what it is.
It's what
And I
is
love
just
all
excited
that.
and going.
Yeah.
Like which one? Okay, so I have a question for you.
Okay, go for it.
What about you? Which one of, or maybe it might have been experience in the past, or maybe
Yeah.
a present relationship now, but one or two that have gotten you the most excited exclusively in financial domination? I've always been curious.
Exclusively? Okay. I have two also
Okay.
that for exciting experiences. One of my oldest subs, Zero, he's been my sub since 2019. He was the first. He was my first.
Zero?
Zero, yeah.
I fucking love that
He
name.
it was because he was my first, right? But he's not even number one. He's zero, right?
Exactly, I
He's
love it.
He's the starting point, but also nothing at the same time, which is why that's his name. A few years ago, he gave me a really, really large chunk of cash, and it was an amount of money that like we
Is
had
that
to
the
have.
one you called me and were like asking about lawyers? You were like,
Yes, it's
you
that
did.
one. Yes, yeah. So we had to get lawyers involved because it had to be a gift that's
100%.
transacted.
To
so that
pay
he
the
has-
most amount of taxes.
Yeah, and so he pays taxes on it, but the amount of money that he tributed me, like that, I didn't have to like save him. I can invest all the surplus back into my.
I know your financial advisor loves you, girl.
Oh my god, yeah, he's very happy with me. But yeah, he gave me a really, really large like 6-figure chunk.
That's
at
so
the time.
exciting. As you deserve.
As you know,
Period. As we deserve.
as we deserve. I know you've gotten that too.
Yeah.
And
But in a one-time chunk is crazy like that, though.
the high I got from it
Girl.
was like it was insane. Like nothing has topped that. No one has given me that amount in one chunk yet. And the high of it was like when I was walking out of the office and the forms were signed and I got like the paperwork to
and it's
transact,
legal, like.
I was like, I did it. I did this thing.
Period.
And it's still in my life because like that was such a sign of trust of him and me, investing in me,
Absolutely.
and knowing that I can take care of that money, right?
Absolutely.
Like I'm not going to be wasting it on, you know, like things. He knows that I will be taking good care of it, and I will be taking good care of him. That's why he gave it to me.
Period.
And I think that's like that was
You're her.
that's period. The feeling, yeah. And the other one right now is probably someone I'm in an arrangement with, and it's a comfortable like 5 figures per month. Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, wow. Okay. I
Yeah.
did the numbers real quick. I was like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God. Period.
Yeah. So it's just feeling it's kind of those like if we're talking about finances, like I think those two are the ones where I feel really lucky to have come across, right? And also
100%.
lucky to have been able to be really fucking good at what I do, to know that I'm that girl in
You
their
are.
life
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Period. Period. I've been thinking about it since like, well, I don't know if you were just pulling this out of your ass, but girl, this one time I was like, so how do you like take your side? You're like, unless they can give me like $250,000 a year, I'm just not talking to them. And I was like, girl,
Say that? Did I say that?
yes,
Oh my
we were
God.
partying hard. Though I was like, okay, I'm setting a new goal. It's just I know.
I can't believe I fucking said that. Oh my
But
God.
as you should. But you're not that way too, because you've also told me, even with traveling, when we talked about website building and like how do I set my rates, we've always talked about like, is this a place you want to visit? So do you really want to charge that rate, right? Of course, you want to make sure your business class is taken care of. Everyone does. But other things, you know what I mean? Accoutrements, like where you stay, maybe you can crowdfund. You've always taught me the way that I've thought about doing it, because from a business standpoint and other ways I've done that, you're like, that's how people do it. And I've always appreciated that transparency in our relationship, you know, of like, hey, this is how I run it and this is how I do it. But also I didn't know about these two boys. So that's really cool and exciting. And I'm so happy for you.
They're very good. I feel very, very lucky to have them. And I want to do right by them too, right? Like there's
100%.
when there's that kind of transaction, the level of responsibility goes up.
Girl.
Right? Like now you're like, okay, this is what I mean to you, and you've shown it. Now I want to make sure that you're taken care of in a way that like matters too.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's really nice for me to every single, like my mother is taken care of. You know what I mean? Like the things that I want in life, I also have. But then student loans are gone. You know what I mean? There is no debt. Like my only debt every single year is taxes.
Oh my God, girl. That supports me every single time.
I just wish I had one sub to like not send me any money all year, and then whenever the tax bill comes in, that's just like they're big.
You can make that happen.
Like I don't know how else to do it because I'm just like I hate this tax obligation. I hate knowing what it's possibly going to be. I hate it. I hate paying quarterlies. I hate all of it. But we got to be real.
I also really like what you said about like the value exchange, right? Because not everyone can transact in big ways.
Yes.
But they have time, they have attention, right? They can do your website, they can do other things. And I have a lot of subs who like they want to serve, and I think those ways also really matter.
100%.
Right? Like meeting them at where they're at, wherever it is, and you know, training them up and making sure that they're fitting into your life. And
the training
there's a
up
place for
part.
everyone. Yeah.
I need your help on that.
What's going on?
I was literally thinking about that on the way here. I was like, girl, excuse me. I literally was thinking about how I wanted to train people up to either edit or do this or run a calendar or run emails or do this. No. I test trialed inquiring for sessions. That went terribly. I did DMCAs have been going well, you know, promos have been going well. So there's certain things that are going well. Editing did not go well.
Because you're very specific about it.
But it's also not too hard. I've had people who, in the first trial of me giving them the editing, they've got it done in the first 2 times. But my editing for my videos are very specific, sure. But they're not too hard. Like, they're pretty easy. Once I walk you through it, and I have 3 different versions, let's just say, of hours worth of Zoom calls of me training different people on how to edit a clip from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So all of it's in there with special effects, without special effects. So it's just, I don't know, at this point, like every YouTuber, every person in any industry that does editing hates that aspect of it. And then you finally find that person who gets you, and then you're good to go. But I have an issue right now of you can always pay less. You can always pay less or nothing. So that's my other issue, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't mind paying for a team that works, right? It's just, I've tried so much, and I'm kind of like now around other people, especially on that last podcast I did, where these people are just, all they do is content creation, and everyone, they're like, you can pay less for editing, you know what I mean? Especially that's all you want.
Yeah.
It can be done. But they're also in the vanilla world. So that's very different.
I have a team of 8 right now. I find that like my philosophy for like team that I'm paying is I like to pay them their fair rates.
Right.
And then bonuses if they're doing a really good job. I find that like when they're not subs, like what incentivizes people to work is not just a relationship, but also like I'm taking care of them, right? When I have my team, like my new personal assistant, like she relocated to New York for me. And that means if my business is not doing well, she's out of a job.
Right.
And I try to hold myself to a standard where it's like I want to pay them their fair rate. Like the economy's not doing well.
100%.
People are out here struggling.
Absolutely.
If I can provide in that way, and I have subs supporting me to kind of have like that positive trickle down effect, I try to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
For a team. Subs, if they want less value exchange, that they're getting something out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Even if it's more contact. Exactly. Even that. They're like, I appreciate these moments of being able to talk to you more, even if it's talking about your calendar, you know? I absolutely agree. Because here's the thing. I also was working with hiring people when I was a financial advisor. I had a team of 4 at that time, and I really enjoyed it. But I also, going back to your question now, I think I do have control issues. Because even then, when I look back.
We know that. You like things a very, very fucking specific way. Like a really
even when you talked about
way.
like, I always think about you talking about, you want to be in this, like, I'm pulling in funds for like this space. And I was like, well, I want to know what type of walls and colors and couches and flooring. You're like, no, girl, you're just putting money in. I'm going to do all that. I was like, nah, I don't want it.
Like, we can't do a syndication. I was like, you should run your own space, you know? Like, everyone works differently. Like, if you know you like a very high degree of control, then you can have your own way of going about it, right? And that just means, like, you know yourself, and you know, like, what kind of collaborations you do and what kind of collaborations you don't do.
Right.
Like, that's basically it.
Right. I'm learning, even through this podcast.
Yeah, this is so much fun. I would love to know, like, how do you train your closest subs then? Like, what kind of protocols do you enact? Do they know about each other? Do they work together? What does that look like for you?
Everyone lives everywhere right now. I don't
Mhm.
have any. The main ones are nowhere near each other at all.
Mhm.
But I would probably say that I actually don't have much protocol when it comes to everyday interactions, because the ones that are more often,
Mhm.
it's more of a, I don't know. I guess I do, because you come in, they do their tasks, they do the regular stuff,
Mhm.
and then we go into conversing, catching up, and then
Yeah.
if there's time for play, then we do. But usually
Mhm.
schedules, and depending on how catch up goes, and depending how long it's been since I've seen that individual, it might take a little bit longer. But other than that, I would probably say that with each individual that I meet that I've known for a while, it's that. If it's new, honestly, it's straight to business. It's straight to work. When I see you, I'm checking off the list. I'm doing what I need to do with you and what I want to do with you, knowing your limits. And I just check the box off and call it a day. And if I can monetize in other ways, like filming, then that's when I kind of get excited,
Yeah.
because it's something for me to remember.
Uh-huh.
But usually when I'm in the moment, I kind of black out. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
You're in that headspace.
yeah, I don't remember who they are and that, like, outside of that, like, their personal selves, you know, they're just it or them or pet or whatever. And when I zone back in, I'm like, oh, hi, you know, I go back into nice me, you know? So it's very different depending on if it's a very intimate long-term relationship versus someone I know, because I can spark the in me at any point.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. But if it's like not, then it's just on,
Yeah.
because I know what I'm getting out of it. I'm getting paid for it. You know what I mean? I enjoy that, and I want to keep that on for a long time. It also helps with, I think, my ADHD to just stay in that zone.
Do you have a favorite session from recently then that you can do a little story time about? Favorite session, something that like really like got you to.
Do you want me to do in person or online?
Let's do one of both.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
gonna say the most recent one I could think of was online. Online was definitely homeboy. I always want to ask him. He wants you to call him on these things, because I've never asked him actually. But anyways, his name's Robert. And
Naming him out loud right now.
yeah, his name's Robert. He's super sweet, super kind. But I think it was a couple months ago, we were just doing this I was super surprised he asked for this role play, but he asked for a role play of me talking to another guy who's apparently super wealthy, just like him, or equally. And he wanted me to talk to the guy on the phone, but I'm recording myself while I'm talking on the phone, talking on the phone, and talking about how much I've drained him over the years and everything.
It's a little bit of like financial cuckolding, right? Like that's what it sounds like.
It's hot. I like that. Yeah.
What did you say on the phone?
I was just like, yeah, he's just super easy. Like the same shit that I always say to him. But I was like, yeah, he's just super easy. He's just really into this. And it's just kind of fucking crazy how we've gotten to this point. I couldn't imagine him having a life without me, because that would really fucking suck. I mean, yeah, imagine his bank statements not having me. I've taken hundreds of thousands. Like, I just go into it, you know what I mean? And he's also given me like little cue points that like trigger him, I'm assuming. So I've integrated that into my script in some way, but it's just memorized because I'm actually on the phone. I can't actually look at a teleprompter. And because usually I do a teleprompter if it's like a really like intense script and I want to make sure I hit all the points. But yeah,
Professional.
in the end of the clip, this, mind you, I had already drained him of probably 20,000 in the last few days. In the clip, I mentioned to the guy, I was like, yeah, and you're going to send $4,444. And as soon as I sent that clip to him, he sent what that guy was supposed to send. And I was like, I love this. This is a whole another level of like us doing it in a shorter amount of time. So I really liked that. That was really nice.
Fun, yeah. And I love you like talking about the teleprompter and like how much work goes into prepping for a custom clip like that too. What is your process for preparing for a digital session like that or like a custom clip?
Yeah, I take the scripting of like their bullet points of what they want, and I make sure every single detail that they want is added in if it's within my boundaries.
Right.
If it's not, obviously it's just getting deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's something that really pisses me off, I will spin it around and do something that like you're gonna hate yourself for asking for that ever again from a woman.
Yeah.
So, or myself, whatever it is, you know, but I literally just go in and take it verbatim and I just add in all of my bullshit, all of me, you know what I mean? And I try to make it funny because I like being funny, but I try to make it funny. But at the same time, I'm realizing more now that these guys like feral shit. They want to see the crevices on. They want to see on the. They want to see the silhouette. They're feral. They're fucking disgusting. Like. So I'm just at this point, I'm like, I gotta get feral with my words if I'm not gonna do all that. You know what I mean? Plus, I'm a small girl. Like, I'm a petite. I don't have all of that. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, also, again, if you get to know me and once you talk to me, I've had a lot of guys who are like, oh my God, I've been watching you for X amount of years and I've been so scared to approach. And once I drain them of like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, they never talk to me again. And that's fine. I don't care. I took what I needed from you. You've been watching for years. You've been spending money for years, thousands too, on clips or tributes randomly.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I want like the boys I have now. And like we have a lot to offer, you know what I mean? Like we have those guys who will just show up and spend out and then never show up again. And it really bothers me when it's been like for years. It's like, then why not just approach it properly? Like come correct or not at all. Even in this regard, because I'm not here for your feral like momentarily like exciting jerk off moments. Like I'm also here like to find people who support what I'm doing in the long run. Yeah. But if they're also not here for that, I'm fine too. You know what I mean? Because I think they have lives.
For both.
Yeah.
There's space for both. I do find that like the longer I am in this industry, the more I'm looking for the long-term dynamics.
Exactly.
Because it's more personally fulfilling.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, like the quick transactions, like there's place and time for them.
Right.
But like for me, like what I like is like seeing the human parts of them.
Exactly.
Figuring out like the triggers and really getting into that brain and all of that good psychological stuff that a person can handle or not handle.
That's always what I've always appreciated about you and your artistry. I've always noticed that in your clips, even when you weren't showing face before, you know? Like
I do have clips where I don't have my face. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But you've always been into that high detail, high quality, and I've always appreciated about your artistry, and that's why you get paid the big bucks, baby.
Thank you, love.
So you're one of a kind, honey.
Oh, thank you.
But I would say the in person though of the rich one is Puppet. Just again, like him, giving me that check to pay off my student loans. That was the only other instance.
Yeah. When did you realize you were this dominant?
That's a good question.
Were you always like this, or was it developed as you domed?
Yeah, definitely. I came into this very just knowing I love money. And knowing I've always been a type A personality, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I was always necessarily dominant in a sexual context in my life or how I operated. I did have someone that I used to entertain and gave just ridiculous amounts of money whenever I was like, I want this. And they were like, okay, here you go, whatever. But it was like a fling at a moment, right? And I was like, okay, this is cute, but I don't like how it feels, right? And so I didn't entertain anybody for a very long while after that. And then I found out about financial domination after financial advising, moving to California, having my whole world ripped up underneath me. Before I moved out here, it was crazy. And yeah, I would probably say that I realized that I like this because of just childhood trauma and seeing my family and my mother and how much she tolerated. Like actually looking back, people like asking, do you see a healthy relationship between your parents and a loving relationship of like what a man should be doing in a household and what your expectations are? And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. So for me, it's like, okay, that's probably like why I'm like, I'm also the first of my mother and my father, my biological father, she had a previous marriage, and then he has kids after me and my sister. So there's a whole bunch of bullshit. But there's 2 here, 2 in me and my sister, and then there's plenty after. But in the ones that were here, what I grew up with, I am my father's son, right? The golden child, and also but the middle child of this whole family lineage. It's just interesting, a dynamic. But I've learned that, like, I know what I don't want, and I've seen my other siblings learn through trial and error. I've never been that individual. I can see and be like, I don't like that. I don't need to try it out. So I'm very much so domineering now in the fact that it is definitely rooted in this. I've seen what my mother is allowed, and I don't want to allow that. Do I think subs do that by any means? Do I think all men do that? No. But the majority, and in today, yes, you know, and I'm just kind of okay with it. And that's all I've grown up and seen. So I'm okay with this side of me that just allows for me to take control, whether it's for childhood me, my mother, or whoever it is, and taking control of me, myself, my sexuality and everything. Because especially with religion and him were just a chokehold on my mother. I just refuse not to have that be me.
Yeah. I find that like BDSM can be like often a healing space, right? Where you can express these extremes of your personality that is not allowed anywhere else. And there's like a safe sort of like negotiated space for it now.
Exactly.
And then you get to not just fulfill your subs fantasies, but your own fantasy. And then it becomes reality once you perform it enough, which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
It becomes who you are. Like, I definitely have a personality shift. You know, I think my characteristics are always going to be there. You know, like, I think characteristics are who you are, but personality shifts depending on the environment you're in and how you're feeling, if you're on drugs or not. But, you know, like, I would definitely say that absolutely it's given me the space and freedom to be myself. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've raged, like damn near popped a blood vessel in my neck yelling at these boys about random things that are important to me. And it's just nice that I have a space to do that where I know I'll be supported and loved and given money the next time I see them. Because they're always like, I know you're not really upset. You're actually upset about what's going on, you know, whether it's racial injustice or like woman injustice, whatever it is, you know what I mean? You're passionate, and I just need people to understand that.
Yeah.
And once they do, we're good.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Muse Naadia, for being on this episode of Uncensored. We will catch you all on the next one.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.